On this episode of Industry Relations, Rob and I discuss touring agreements, real estate Karens, and forgery as a strategy. You're going to want to wait to the end for this one. Let's go. This is Industry Relations, a podcast that's at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson. Hi, everybody. This is Greg, and I wanted to give a quick shout out to our newest sponsor, CoreLogic. There has never been a time when it's been more crucial for real estate agents to demonstrate their value to their clients, and CoreLogic has all the tools for them to do so. One Home has generated over 17 million unique users who are exploring listing and neighborhood data. Their invitation-only client portal has also amassed 2.3 billion listing views, and their new photo AI search helps turn clients' visual aspirations into reality. For agents on the go, there's MLS Touch, which is their top-rated real estate app in the App Store, which gives agents instant access to critical MLS data wherever they are, and also can be branded for collaboration as a client version. Next up is Realist. Realist gives agents expert level analysis of properties, which helps their clients make smarter decisions and also can help them with their lead generation efforts. All this is underpinned by Matrix, the industry's leading MLS system. Currently, CoreLogic is rolling out Matrix 12, which will have a brand new interface that works perfect for mobile and desktop. Lots of great stuff happening at CoreLogic. Don't forget an update from your favorite rep, whether that's Rick, Todd, Kim, Lauren, or the rest of the crew, or visit their website. You can look at the link in the show notes. My thanks again for CoreLogic for sponsoring Industry Relations.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your co-host, Notorious Rob, and my other co-host who is like giggling and cracking up over there, the fabulous Greg Robertson.
Hola.
Dude, that dad joke was not that funny.
That was
a dad joke in our pre-show.
I like the dad jokes. It's
because you're a dad.
It's wafting into the wind here. So,
a shout out to the dads in the audience.
Yeah,
doing
well. Hey, man, I'm going to see you in just a few days here, man.
That's right. Can't wait. In fact, I think our plan is that this video will actually drop week after next. Because we're going to do a live stream. So hopefully if you're watching this, we would have already done a live stream, for Min, and hopefully it wasn't embarrassing or anything. But just letting you know. So you know what? By the time people see this, what a wonder. It was great to see you, Greg. We had such a blast.
We did. What's your prediction? Did we win the award? I mean, if people don't know, we're up for the most innovative industry podcast.
Yeah. My prediction is no.
No. Who do you think? Who do you think won?
Who's in the running?
The one we lost to last year was Glenda and Glam.
Yeah.
Which is Glenda Baker, I think is her last name. She's a great agent. She does some Instagram live stuff and has a great feed. I've never seen that podcast. I guess she does it with a gentleman from the New York area. Yeah. So good for them. I mean, I know the only ones I know of is them because we lost to them.
Yeah.
I think
aren't we up against like 1000 Watt or Dwiggins or something?
Dwiggins, that's right. So the real estate,
I bet he would have won. Yeah.
Keith, you think Keith and James?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So congrats to Keith and James for your victory.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
says we gotta be time travelers.
I gotta say, man, you've been dropping some great stuff. I mean, if we're not in the running there, I'm hoping for a win here. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, we'll see. Yeah. I mean, by the time this drops, we'll have known. But in any event, so because of that, this is a little tricky. But I think even so 2 weeks from now, right? We're in August. The changes would have taken place. I think this will still be relevant. And maybe what we talk about is going to be completely outdated because of the live stream from last week. But I don't think it's going to be just because everyone's just speculating. But boy, we are in a bit of a real engagement going on there in Twitter. So I think that's what we kind of want to talk about. And do want to say thanks to Melissa Savenko again for kind of steering, like getting us going on this. And hopefully, like she would have been at last week's.
You know what she's also really good at? I mean, she's done some really tweets have gone viral.
They're great.
But yeah. And the other thing though is that I love Twitter. It's a text-based thing. I've always just gravitated towards that. And, I'm all about the short, pithy kind of things, right? Or
let your boomer flag fly.
Yes.
Texting. Yeah.
But the problem is that you get a lot of just nut jobs on there, right?
Yeah.
And I find, I learn a lot from Twitter. I like these interactions and getting some stuff. But then it's like there's always got to be some assholes on there that just want to bring it down into the dirt. And she does a great job of calling them out and saying, look, we're trying to have an adult conversation, right? This isn't always Nancy Pelosi's fault or some nonsense that they come up with or just being kind of mean and hateful. It's like, why you want to do that, bro? I mean, I don't get it. So she's really good at that. And I find that refreshing so that we can continue on having these things, right?
Sure.
But anyway, she's great.
Pro tip, my Twitter experience improved dramatically when I started applying the block button liberally.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So
I don't. Yeah. Okay. I maybe blocked one person. I don't know.
The thing we kind of want to discuss, and again, we probably discussed it last week as well. There is still a lot of confusion. I think there's still a lot of consternation about the sort of the initial buyer agency agreement, right? So,
I don't know if it's confusion. I think they just don't fucking even know, right? That's a lot of things
or they hate it or whatever.
Ignorance. Maybe,
sure. Yeah. But the issue here is before you show a home, according to the NAR settlement, a buyer agent has to get some sort of written agreement.
A written agreement.
A written agreement from the buyer agreeing to whatever. Right. And this is the settlement agreement. This is blah, blah, blah. Half the comments that I've seen are things like, well, I already do this, or my state already requires buyer agency agreements. So we've been doing this anyway. So there's no change for us.
Yeah. But can I stop that right there?
Yeah.
Just let me expand on that a little bit. I've been talking to a few people out there and it is a what do they call those things that are open secret? That actually 10% of those people in those states actually do it.
Okay.
Right. So that's something I'd not heard. And I'm like, can that be true?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I'm going to throw that out there. I didn't mean to interrupt your rhythm, but go ahead.
And then the other half, I think are people just going ape shit. They're like, how's this going to work? And, this is nonsense and et cetera. So given that there's so many different directions going on, let's start with the one sort of suggestion and then your response to it. That's how this all began, right? Yeah. So again, Melissa Savenko, she's a great follow on Twitter. It's at Melissa Savenko with a V. I guess we could put her thing into the show notes or whatever. I think basically what she put out there was the idea of kind of a sort of a try before you buy type agreement. I don't know how else to put it, right?
Yeah.
Something like this.
It's a good way of putting it.
Right? Hey, we're going to get together. I'm going to do a buyer presentation, tell you how great I am and why you should hire me. But we're going to go look at a house or look at whatever. We're going to do a bunch of house tours. You guys, and you have to sign this before you do those tours. What the agreement will say is, at the end of that, either we're going to execute a full-on buyer agency agreement, like you will hire me to be your agent, or you're going to pay me for my time. And
she's positing it's $250 an hour.
Right. That's what she would charge. And her background is, I think she was, or she might still be an attorney. So she's, used to that. And you kind of came back with, this will never happen. And then
what I had said.
Yeah.
What I'd written, and again, we're having a good conversation. I know I can go back and forth with her.
Yeah.
Is that I think anybody asking for money to show a house is a non-starter. Right. And I think there's a lot of people that like that and reposted that. So I think there's, something in there. Right.
So why do you think that is?
I think, number one is just culturally, right? It's just like it's never been done before. I mean, again, you're right about some different states out there.
Sure.
But I'm not sure in those states. This is about showing houses. I know you have to have a buyer's agreement, if you're going to like represent the buyer, but I'm not sure in those states it has to be before you show a house. Okay. So let's keep that in mind, right? There's a little distinction there. And it's because it's like the way, and this is not a great, and Melissa pointed this out, and I didn't mean it to be the greatest example of all time, but it's like going to the Nordstrom and saying, hey, before you want to buy anything from me, if you just walk around here, you're gonna have to pay me $250. I mean, if I'm a consumer,
sure,
that's nuts. I mean, you're not even gonna let me look, and you're gonna charge me. It's just so antithetical of like so many things out there, right? I mean, so I think in the consumer's mind and the way that this is done culturally so far, it is just going to be a long bridge to cross. I mean, to do that, right? And to me, but I get the problem, right? Because if they've got to like actually, in a very short amount of time, right? And this is where I think this is where we all have, this is what the real main thing about it is how do you build, trust, right? I mean, to me, if you're going to meet somebody for the first time, what are the techniques you can use? I mean, because a lot of times you're not going to be able to do a whole buyer presentation. What are the things that enable somebody to build trust very quickly? And I don't know if it's impossible.
It's possible. It happens all the time.
I mean,
but you're really good at it because you're like one of the best salespeople I've ever met. So what's your technique for building trust very quickly?
Right. I think, for me, I think for anybody that's doing that is that you have to be, and I hate this word, but you have to be authentic, right? I mean, it's better if you have a built-in reputation going into something where somebody's giving you a third-party validation. You know what? I mean, he's a good friend with Rob. Rob's cool.
Yeah.
If Rob's recommending him or he's in that circle of people, I trust him, right?
Yeah.
So and a rapport, right? I'm kind of like my default mode is humor, right? So I mean, I can kind of like bring somebody to be very comfortable right away.
Yeah.
But in 10 minutes, can I get people to like agree that if I sell their $1 million house, that I'm going to make $40,000 or whatever? That's a lot of trust right there. That's a lot of, I mean, it's easier to build a rapport and trust just you and I talking like, okay, I'll listen to this. It's a way different conversation if I've got to go, okay, now that we've done this, I need you to sign this for me.
Sure.
Right. That is that's a bridge too far in a sense there. Right.
Yeah.
So I do think it comes down to some versions of those agreements that are just going to be, I think you've talked about this. It's got to say the buyer isn't responsible for anything, right?
I think
it's got to be something, right?
I'm not entirely sure, but let's think through sort of the consumer psychology of this, which is where this was the most interesting in a sense, right? Which is trying to imagine this hypothetical counter reality where when you walk into Nordstrom's, right, you're required to sign something. So in other words, obviously it's not reality. I'm just trying to imagine a reality.
Well, there's probably places I know of, like, at the big mall, the fancy mall here. Sometimes you can't get into a certain store without an appointment.
Oh, that's actually better. Okay. That's actually better. Okay.
But I think that's a little different from signing something that says, hey, I'm a salesperson. I'm going to spend this hour showing you the latest Rolexes and all these different watches. And if you decide not to buy, you're going to pay me $500 because I'm an expert in this. It's just, seems like, huh?
That's right. Now, there are, and I think I kind of know where Melissa's getting this from, because there are attorneys who do this. They'll charge like an initial consultation fee. But
there's nothing that they're going to sell them at the end of that. It's like,
there is.
Okay.
They're selling their services. In other words, again, some attorneys will do stuff like, hey, look, I do whatever, criminal defense work, my initial consult is $99, $199, whatever it is, right? For an hour, for half an hour, right? So just to talk to you, to hear about your situation, and then my recommendations, right?
Okay.
Because some of that is the initial consultation. At the end of it, it's like, you don't have a case.
Yeah.
Right. But now I've spent my time is worth something. So some attorneys do that. I've not heard that being particularly effective, like from the legal side of things. Like lawyers, if you are doing retail law, right? So you're talking to consumers, and you do this like initial consultation fee, it rarely works out. Consumers just go find somebody else, right? So the ones that actually, at least from what I can tell, is the free initial consultation, right? So it's free 30 minutes. Past that, I start charging you, kind of deal. I've seen that. Like 1 hour free, something like that, because I want to hear the kind of I was in a car accident and then this what happened. You know what I mean? It's those cases, right? But I get where she's coming from. Like, you're wasting my time, so I kind of get that.
You're wasting my time. I mean, wow.
Right?
Wow. Okay.
And the issue there is, and I think she said it. She said, I have no problems doing a buyer presentation for free, but if I'm touring a home, that feels different. I kind of get that. Right. In other words, take the law example. Initial consultation is I come to the lawyer's office or on the phone, right, or on Zoom, and we just talk. So the lawyer's just sitting at the desk. If the initial consultation was, I need you to go to court for me, that's going to be real different. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's actual work. So same thing for an agent. It's one thing to like meet at a cafe and talk about, do a presentation, hear your needs. Like, what are you thinking about? What's your time frame? Are you pre-qualified? Do you have any children? Like, doing all of that, do needs assessment. I get all that. And let me tell you about me, why I'm so great, why you should hire me. I don't think anyone is saying like, I'm going to charge for that. I think the point is, okay. And at the end of it, it's like, okay, that sounds cool. Let's go look at houses. Now I got to get in a car and drive somewhere and then open lock boxes and show you a home. That doesn't feel like, that feels like real work. Right. And Melissa's point is, I should get paid for that real work.
Should there be should there be a different model then? I mean, is that showing of the house? And again, I'm not an agent, but is that such a crucial part of the buyer journey?
That I mean, it's a crucial part.
But that a broker, right, could assign a door opener to just be the person in charge of door opening and letting people in without having to, without having anything associated with it. Right.
And that's kind of the way it worked today, which is, Teams especially has showing agents.
But I guess that door opener has to have some sort of agreement also.
That's the issue. Now the issue is, under this agreement, that door opener, that company has to have some written agreement with the buyer. Right. And that's what's throwing everything into a tizzy. Right. Because it used to be like, hey, so, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. This is what I do. I'm going to go look at a house. That's cool. I'm going to get my showing assistant to walk you through the house. Right.
Yeah. But there's so many. There's so many scenarios, though. It's like, okay, so, all right. Your referral, you're a lead, whatever. Right. It's like, hey, James said, you're agent in town. I want to take a look at this house. Would you show me this house?
Right.
Sure. I can meet you at 11:30. Right.
Right.
Now there's going to be different techniques to that. They want to meet him first at a coffee shop, then go see the house. I'm in kind of a, I don't have enough time. Can I just meet you at the house? Right. So there's that conversation, right? How do you navigate that? What is there agreements for that type of situation? Is there agreements that are part of this buyer presentation? Is there?
Well, like I said, man, Zillow came out with a showing agreement, and then Greg Robertson beat up on them. So,
well, I just didn't beat up on him. I mean, several states called it illegal, right?
I'm just saying, like, so you can say several states, like, okay, well, then those states are going to figure something out, right? They're going to figure something out, because otherwise, under the letter, blah, 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 it's going to go to, I would love to show you this home. You need to sign this piece of paper. So that's why I'm going to this like counterfactual, right? This world in which Nordstrom's requires you to sign something before you can enter the store. What does that look like, right? I think it looks like, number one, it has to be like administrative clerical. Like, listen, this is just for our liability insurance, right? Do you know what I mean? This doesn't require, you're not on the hook for anything. You just need to sign here so we can let you in, right? And this is, the law requires this of us because whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It would have to be. Well,
I guess in a world where now you go to some CVS and in order to buy shaving cream,
right,
you have to have somebody come over and unlock a door.
Yeah, that's because you live in California.
It's everywhere, dude.
No, it's not. It's not in Vegas. Newsom's Paradise, baby.
Excuse me? Okay. Well, when we go out there, I'm going to point out to you how difficult it is to get a package of Mach 3s. Okay. So
Mach 3 is different. I'm just talking about when you guys have legalized theft in your state, that's anyway, that's a whole different thing. Point being, there's just work involved, right? So going back, I'm just saying, like, whatever that form is that Nordstrom's forced you to sign, it has to be really simple. It has to be really easy, and it can't possibly put any burdens on the shopper. Otherwise, shoppers get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Right? And, imagine if that form said, by signing this, I agree that I will buy something before I leave the store.
Yeah.
No one's signing that, right? We can all agree on that, right? So similarly, we got to come up with something that's like, look, this just the law requires it. Just here's literally 3 sentences, right? I'm hiring you to show me this house.
Right? Yeah. Well, it can't have any, but nothing about compensation.
Nothing about compensation. Nothing about whatever duties. None of this. I think it's literally 2 sentences, right? Showing agreement. Yes, I'm retaining you to show me this house for free.
Right. So then there's a whole other cottage industry of converting those 3-sentence agreements to to a buyer's whatever, right? Then it's about the buyer presentation, whatever. Right. So yeah, I mean, when this settlement first came out, I honed in on this really quickly because I knew this is going to be a thing, especially for and you talked about it, but Zillow and the other ones that are trying to do these one-click button kind of things, right?
Yep.
It is going to be, it's such a weird, I just don't get why it has to be before the showing. Right. Why in that they figured in the time frame of working with a buyer, absolutely. Yes. You need to get a buyer's agreement signed. Right. But what was the impetus of in that stage of the journey that they really had to do it, because the friction involved is crazy.
Yeah. I don't know the answer. This is my pure guess. Okay? Uh-huh. My guess is because the showing was the clearest trigger of procuring cause in the old system, right?
Right.
So you could talk all you want, buy a presentation, take you to coffee, all that. I'm not procuring cause until I've showed you a house.
Right. She talks about that too in that.
Once I show the house, then I'm procuring cause.
Yeah.
The issue there is procuring cause is only relevant if there's a compensation. When there's no compensation, no commission sharing, procuring cause is irrelevant.
Right.
So my hope is within the next, we'll call it 12 to 18 months, right? Because obviously government never moves that fast, right? Within the next 12, 18 months, what people realize is, this is stupid. This timing doesn't make sense in a concession world, right? So let's move it to before you submit an offer, you must have a buyer agency agreement signed. I think that's probably the right move to this. My guess is that the settlement agreement was written that way because showings were such an important step in the procuring cause.
Yeah, I would love for one of the DOJ attorneys go try to buy a house, and the first thing that shows up is a freaking thing. They're going to go, can I just look at the house?
Right.
Right, no, that might just turn the tide right there.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and here's the other kind of thing. I think we talked about this before, but I think this really gives a lot more emphasis, and I believe I've heard some real estate coaches start talking about this, of how open houses are going to have a much more bigger play than they had before, right? Where
I don't know, maybe. So here's the other thing.
Well, because in those cases, you can just come in the open house and come and go. So those things become, I think, maybe there's going to be more open houses for longer times or something, right? And that could be a draw. That could be a draw, though.
For who?
For buyers that don't want to freaking sign anything.
No, of course. But I'm saying I think that goes away because it's not like buyer agents are stupid. They understand that, right? So they're going to have to compete against that. Now, here's the thing that I'm sort of interested in.
No, but buyers who, again, remember thinking back, like me and my wife would get in our car, we drive around, right? Even though we would maybe identify some stuff on Redfin or whatever. And then we drive around. Okay, that's what that looks like in real life, these kind of things. And then you'd hit a couple open houses or whatever. And then, you'd get, call an agent to kind of show you the place or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be in the past, in a sense. I think really what the behavior is going to be is you're just driving around to go to see open houses.
I think it's a little bit more fundamental than that. So this is what I want to bring up. I actually had a good long conversation with an MLS CEO about a point of the settlement, the law thing. And I'm like, go talk to your attorney, but this is my interpretation. And the point that was brought up was the settlement agreement only binds the buyer agent. It does not bind the listing agent. So there's no requirement that the listing agent sign anything to show a home.
Yeah, so that's a whole other ball. So now they're just going to call the listing agents because it's less hassle.
Right. And here's the thing. Isn't that actually better?
For dual agency, yes.
No. Here's what I mean. Say let's take Melissa. Like Melissa does the buyer presentation, right? The buyer's like, okay, I get that. Cool. Can we go see the house? Right. And it's like, look, I'm your advisor. Right. I'm not a door opener. But I'll tell you what, I will contact the listing agent right now and arrange you to see it. In other words, move the touring, the response to the showing, to the listing agent who doesn't have to sign anything.
Right. But they're making a risk there, right?
They are taking a risk that then the agent goes. Now, here's the issue. The issue there is dual agency.
Yeah.
If dual agency were completely banned, then there's no risk.
Right. Well, it's not completely banned, so there's a risk.
But it's not completely banned. So when you think about it, this entire thing is this complicated system. So buyer agents are all pissed off, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, part of it, though, has to be the recognition. It's because the Realtor Association went and lobbied your state to allow dual agency. If you didn't have dual agency, what's the risk?
The classic part here is that, I love this thread you're pulling on, because one of the things that people talk about is like, what does the listing agent actually do? Right. I mean, yeah, they get the lead, they get the listing. Everybody says that's the best strategy, but still, once they get it, what do? They barely even do an open house. They have some lesser agent do the open house. Right. They do nothing, right? But like everybody's talking about how, the buyer agent doesn't. Well, hell no. The buyer agent is the one that's always doing the work.
Right.
They're shuttling people around there. We're submitting offers, everything else. Now, the way you describe it, you can kind of flipping it now. It's like the buyer's advisor who doesn't want to get involved with this, too early with the signing thing is like, he just calls to all the listing agents. Yeah, get your ass down here, man.
Yeah.
You want to sell this thing? You have to show this guy.
In fact, I want to say Chicago. This is years ago, but I remember talking to a good friend of mine who was a top agent in Chicago, and who said in Chicago, the culture there is that the listing agent shows the house.
Yeah. Okay.
The culture, like listing agent, always present. Even if the buyer agent's there, listing agent's ones walking to the house. Let me show you this lovely chandelier and blah, blah, blah. And the buyer agent is sitting there, obviously telling and then they're going to confer after. It's like, don't believe that.
Interesting.
She was lying about. So it's a cultural thing as well.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So it's possible we could see a culture shift where buyer agents are like, showing the house is a listing agent's problem, not mine.
Yeah. And there is a lot you see it online a lot where on the MLS as well is, don't use showing time. call me because they want to be there, or they want to be in control of every experiencer. So maybe.
And then
there.
You have the other the wrinkle there is obviously a lot of buyer agents are like, I don't want that happening. I want to tell my buyer about this house and blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, that y'all work that shit out, right?
Yeah, go wait in the garden shed, right?
Y'all work that shit out. I mean, to me, it seems a little odd. So this is just my personal opinion, right? And this kind of fits in with. Do you remember that guy who was anti-Zillow out in San Diego? What was his name? And he had this like get it from the source. Remember that?
Yeah,
ARG.
God.
God.
Didn't he have a bat or something? Or
no, but like the thing that he said that does make sense is no one knows the house better than the listing agent, right?
Well, okay.
So if you want information about the house, if you want to learn about the house, you should get it from the source, which is the listing agent, right? Or I guess, frankly, the seller, but nobody wants that. So, so I don't know about that as far as this like syndication debate, but I do think it makes sense from a showing standpoint. In other words, even as a buyer, right? Say I want to go buy a car, right? Say I want to go buy a, Mercedes. Right. I want the best Mercedes salesperson who really knows Mercedes to sell me that car, right?
Yeah.
Now,
but wait.
Hold on. What would be great is if I had an advisor sitting next to me who's also a car expert. And then afterwards we could walk out and be like, yeah, that guy is full of shit. This whatever 4-wheel drive technology is ancient. Audi's got a better one. Like, that's what I want. But I want the salesman who's been trained in that product, who really knows it, to try and sell me this car. Tell me all the benefits. Tell me everything. Isn't there something to that? Like, shouldn't the listing agent be the one walking me through the house? And
I think the issue there is really twofold. It's like, think about you and me, right? When we want you and I to jump on a call with somebody.
Yeah.
What kind of a fucking mess is that?
What
right?
do you mean?
Because you got your things going on. I've got and then we got whoever we want to talk to negotiate all three of those people to be at one place at one time is horrendous, right?
That's second is for, isn't it?
Well, it can be, but it's still a trick, right? We try to use all these tools also. Sure. The other thing is agent responsiveness, right? I mean, it's still like, how many times have you set up a meeting for somebody or whatever, and the one party doesn't respond, right? It's like you're waiting for that guy, and then something adds to your calendar and whatever. I mean, so just coordinating. The more people you try to coordinate to be at a certain place at a certain time,
agreed,
fucking nightmare.
Agreed. Agreed. And maybe the technological solution, maybe there's some other, and I'm sure we're not thinking of a million different issues. I'm just pointing out, like, from my standpoint, the person doing the showing probably should be the listing agent, because the listing agent knows the house the best and can point out all of the benefits. And then the buyer agent should then tell me, right, all the bullshit and all the hype. And what's actually just like, actually the listing agent was right about the hot tub, but man, this basement, like, that's all bullshit. Like, right? I mean, isn't that kind of dynamic we would want?
Yeah.
Right? So from that standpoint, like I said, hopefully the timing of this written agreement moves to before you submit an offer. I mean, I just feel real strongly about that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to do it before the showing. So it's just a change that everyone has to agree to. That makes sense. The listing agent probably should be much more involved in the showing. And then we don't need this bullshit about showing agreements. And then the big thing that we just kind of have to tackle is this dual agency thing.
Yeah.
Because the buyer agents are going to be terrified and paranoid, and rightfully so, right? Rightfully so, to send their client to go talk to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
because a savvy listing agent is going to know exactly what to say, right?
Exactly.
So you haven't signed anything with Brenda, huh?
Right, exactly.
Well, she's probably going to ask for 2.5%. I mean,
and she's an alcoholic, so you really want to.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know how you know her, but anyway.
Well, let's talk about of this. Is like dating. It's so weird. Yeah. So much of this is like reminds you of pickup and stuff, But
So how does that so dual agency goes away. My brain goes to different models out there, right? What's Zillow's model as far as for monetization? What's realtors' model for monetization? And then, of course, the big one that is in this realm is CoStars with Homes.com, where it's all about the listing. You're listing your lead, right?
That's right.
I can't believe I haven't said that phrase in the past like 10 podcasts.
I know.
But does that, if dual agent goes away, CoStar give a shit?
Does CoStar give a shit? Yeah, possibly, because you're listing your lead as meaningless, right?
Well, in a sense it is, but it's still valid for them, because in other models like Zillow, you're going to be passed off to anybody else. You can be sold to another person. At Homes.com, you're not. You're going to go straight to the listing agent, right?
But the listing agent cannot help you.
The listing agent cannot help you.
If dual agents are completely banned, you can't sign them. So what's the point?
Yeah. Okay. Right? Okay.
Now, you do have to deal with the problem. Of designated dual agents, meaning the broker level.
Right. Broker level. Yeah.
That's a whole other ball of wax, man. And there are people, and I was this way for, I don't know, a few years ago, right? Coming out of the legal world, I'm like, the agency's with a firm. So it's the firm that does a conflict check, not some random individual lawyer. But obviously real estate and law and what are very different. I get it now. So I think I'm much more open to the complexity of it. Right? Like, you have two agents who work in the same office. That doesn't mean they're in cahoots, right?
Right.
In fact, they're probably super competitive. And you get to a big company like an EXP, like, come on, you have like whatever, 1,000 agents, like, you're going to conflict out all 999 agents. Like, that's tough, so there's that issue, right? But it's just something we're going to have to be aware of.
Well, it's, but I always like the way that you can follow things through. And then if you follow that path through, you're right. I mean, it does affect the industry and how those companies monetize things. Right. So,
and then there's the ideal world, and then there's the real world, right? And this actually brings up one of the things. So I wanted to kind of ask you about this, because this was something I pointed out in that Twitter thread. The ideal world is, here's the rule, the MLS will enforce it, and you must have a written buyer agreement or else, right? I'm like, in the real world, the MLS ain't going to enforce jack shit, because they can't. How the fuck is the MLS supposed to enforce that?
Well, I think and this is what I've heard from others that I posited the same thing, is the MLSs don't have a FBI force that goes out there. Right. You know what the MLS does have?
What?
Snitches.
Okay.
I mean, their whole thing is based upon the competitive natures of other agents. So they don't need to have enforcement departments, because when an agent, and it's a small industry, especially when you get down to these towns, when Brenda didn't show that house, and that they didn't, she's going to turn Brenda in. I mean, all the agents are the enforcements of all this.
Fine, but let's think through that, right? So in the real world, Brenda meets with a buyer, doesn't sign anything, shows the home.
Right.
Okay. How is Janet gonna know to turn Brenda in?
Because those buyers will go to Janet. Janet will require them for a form. Brenda didn't have me sign this. Why are you making me sign this?
Okay. All right.
I mean, listen, it's...
Okay. And then Janet turns in Brenda.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Well, did you show these guys? Yeah, I did. Can I see the agreement? Well, boom. $3,400 fine. I think it's be very easy for... I think it's be very easy.
I don't think so. And here's kind of why. Number one, I think Brenda would like, hey, buyer, I'm going to show this to you. Okay. When we're done, we're either going to sign a buyer's agreement, or we need to sign this piece of paper.
They're violating the rule right there. It has to have,
of course,
before you, Okay.
I understand they're violating the rule. I know. Right. I'm saying, so, and it's like, look, it's because if you're not willing to even sign it afterwards to cover my ass, so I don't get a $3,000 fine, then see ya. Right? Go bother somebody else. Do you know what I mean? It's like, look, I'm not making you sign anything like I'm supposed to, but here's what I do need you to sign this showing agreement, right? We can either sign it right now so I don't get sued or I don't get this fine, or we can do it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, right? I think either way,
you're violating the rule.
Janet, it's going to find, they're going to say, Janet didn't
says,
make me sign it.
Right. And Janet goes, turn you in. And then Brenda goes, here's a piece of paper. Janet's lying.
Well, no, but what if they don't sign that at the end?
Oh, then you got problems.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So,
and then you go, then you lie. Say, no, they signed it. I just lost the document.
You just lost the document.
People lie, dude.
No, it gets back to your whole thing. Ignore it. I don't think that's a strategy.
No, I actually think it is, because to these small MLS that don't have the enforcement staff, what the fuck are they going to do?
No, they don't have to do. It's not an enforcement staff. It's just somebody who goes on a piece of paper. Somebody snitched. They go in the MLS.
Right.
They type the agents in and they click a fine button.
I'm suing you, MLS, for wrongful fining. Like, you're talking about small MLS that don't have staff. Even the big ones, they don't really have the staff.
Well, I know most MLSs don't. They'd rather not do these fines, right? But until they get sued.
I'm just saying, in the real world, right, the MLS have zero incentive to enforce any of this. Zero.
Well, they do, because if it gets too rampant and it could appear that they're thumbing the nose at the settlement, some lawyer's going to take advantage of that. That. My point is, the MLS gets nothing out of enforcing this other than complying with whatever terms of settlement that they hate anyway. It's not like the MLS makes a bunch of money from enforcing. No, the MLS, what the MLS gets is not being sued.
I get it, but that's not an incentive, man.
Not being sued, that's an incentive for me.
That's fear. I mean, it's not like MLS, like, if we enforce this rule really well, we're going to get more members.
Well, then why have a settlement then if it's not going to induce some sort of fear to people?
You're not understanding what I'm trying to get at. My point is, they have no incentive to. It's kind of like bars with the checking IDs, right? Does a bar have some incentive to check ID other than, we could get in trouble with the law?
Well, intoxicating a minor, I think, would be an incentive that they don't want to do something like that.
A 20-year-old is, that's what I'm getting at. Like, and bars do the wink and nods. Like, you're in college town. Let me see this ID. Oh, you're a 6'2" white man, are you? It's like, yep. Okay, come on in. Like, come on, dude. Like, girls been getting away with this shit for fake IDs at bars for how many decades? My point is, the bar does not have an incentive to enforce the drinking age. They have an incentive not to get in trouble. Right?
Sure.
Okay. So for the bar, as long as the 20-year-old college student shows them an ID that looks good enough, we check their ID, we did our part, that's all they're looking for. I'm saying similar mechanics here with the MLS. The MLS has no incentive to enforce this. Zero.
I think the incentive they have is that They would rather have a marketplace where everybody is following the rules, okay? And they have to somehow enforce that. So it just doesn't, because if they say, well, they're not enforcing that, I guess I don't have to worry about this, or I guess it could just be as a precedent for other things to have have happen. The precedent's been
set already.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
the precedent's been set already. Number one. Number two, like, is the MLS really a whole bunch of HOA Karens like that? I just don't buy it, man.
Again,
especially the staff, they have other more important things they could be doing.
Again,
this ain't it.
I think they've all been. I think the big incentive is that they don't have to be in these depositions again, right? I mean, not being sued, I think, is a big incentive for these MLSs.
I think they're going to do minimal. In other words, what they'll do is, here's a rule. Okay. Enforcement is going to be done through, to your point, snitches. When we get a report, we'll investigate. I think the investigation is going to be like this. Hey, we heard from Janet that you didn't have this thing signed. Did you get it signed? Oh, I got it signed. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. And then we
called Brenda. She said it was signed.
Yeah. What's going to happen there is then everybody is just going to ignore everything if they do that. And I don't think that's what they want.
That's kind of my point, dude.
Yeah, I just don't think that they want that to happen.
I don't think it's going to be a big deal, this particular timing of the thing, because here's where the important part of that whole thing was. That you need to have a buyer agency agreement signed. There's a cap on compensation, right? Not, there's a compensation that's certain, right? A percentage or a dollar amount, and you can't get paid more than that.
Right.
Okay. And the whole thing that the DOJ and everybody really wants is, if you need to get paid, put it in the offer to try and eliminate steering. Right? The timing of the buyer agency showing whatever, I mean, I think we're making a big deal because it's so new and everyone's freaked out and real estate is made up of
it's the most egregious thing about all this stuff is that.
Right.
I mean,
I'm just like, but who the fuck is enforcing this? A whole bunch of MLS have zero incentive to enforce it.
No, again, the enforcements it's a member-driven enforcement, right?
And I'm saying it's going to be a nullity, more or less. Yeah. Like they might find somebody once to make an example, but really it's kind of like the speeding ticket, just don't get caught. Or like the bar with the ID.
I would love to hear in the comments of MLS staff or MLS executive to say. The public
comments are, of course, because no, we are going to enforce and we are, and we are. Of course, I get that.
It's always really nice when you just
in the real world.
You get to just say you're right because nobody is going to say publicly
right,
wrong.
But in the real world, I mean, dude, like, do you think MLS are enforcing every rule today?
I think it. Not every rule, right? I mean, I'm certain there's suggestions, but again, this has just been a pain in the ass for all of them, and I don't think any one of them want to get in trouble again, right? And it's not that big a deal. Again,
it's a pretty big deal.
Brenda calls or Janet calls. Hey, Brenda didn't get this thing done. Okay. I click on my fucking HubSpot thing or whatever they're using. It sends a thing to Brenda saying, hey, you've been fined $3,400, but if you can provide because you didn't do it, whatever. But if you send us over the buyer's agreement with this person, we will undo the fine.
So after that, Brenda sends over an agreement and goes, oh, Janet said that? Okay, fuck that. I'm doing that to everybody. If all it takes anonymous snitching, hey, I heard whatever. So now the MLS.
Well, now what Brenda has
false reports.
Well, no,
false reports because Brenda you're signing a fine ahead of time. Right?
No, Brenda will be ostracized because she's just doing it to everybody and not being specific on it. So the agents that are doing the right thing and Brenda's still snitching on it, she's going to ostracize herself, right? That's not what it's about. It's about legitimate ones.
I think you're living in some ideal fantasy world. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, in an ideal world, there's going to be all this and enforcement is going to be robust and blah, blah, blah. Okay, in an ideal world, fentanyl is illegal, and yet somehow we still have millions of Americans dying on our streets. In an ideal world,
how did we get to fucking fentanyl? I mean,
because like this notion that all you got to do is make a rule, right?
Again, it's not that. The enforcement is not that hard here. It really isn't.
I think the enforcement is very fucking hard. How are you gonna like? So hey, I do have a thing. Is it legit? Is it real? How about that? Okay, Brenda said I do have it signed. Janet's wrong.
Send it over. We'll put it on file and we'll take away the thing.
Right. Okay. Here I sent it.
Looks legit.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Legit.
That's right. Okay. That's the case. And now she's like, okay, so fuck it. I'm going to bring this up on Janet every time.
Again, if she wants to do these things that are not
every single
legit,
time.
Here's why. She's doing herself a disfavor.
Think about the incentive system you created, Greg. You're saying simply the report, simply the snitching results in a fine. Not
That's how it happens now.
What's that?
Right. They put in to say this person's doing anything.
Right.
It's a very easy investigation. Hey,
what's the investigation?
Brenda, send me the goddamn form. That's all I want to see. Once I see the form, here it is.
Wait, that's not what you said. You said, here's a fine, and now you have to send me the form to get out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have the MLS fine everybody that I hate.
Right. But I mean, they won't be fined if they provide the form, though.
If they provide. Right. No, I get you. But now it's the hassle. I've got to provide the form.
You could switch it.
Hold on. The thing you're missing here is the poor staffer at the MLS who's now dealing with 400 emails a day, 400 snitches a day.
You're saying it's going to go that way. It's not going to go. Do it this way.
It's going to go that way. Human nature is going to go that way.
Let's do it. Let's just twist a little bit about what I said, okay?
Okay.
Janet snitches on Brenda because Brenda did not get a fucking signed form, okay? That's just fact, okay?
Okay.
So Brenda... Brenda gets a email from the MLS saying, "Hey, there's been a report that you did not get a signed buyer's agreement when you toured this 123 Main Street property. If you send us a form, we will not fine you. Mm-hmm. But if you don't send us a form, we will fine you."
Brenda sends a form.
Okay, so then she's cool, but she's lying.
But it's fake.
Okay, well I can't. Nobody can stop fraud. If Brenda wants to do fraud, well, that's a whole other fucking thing here.
Yeah. So my point is, if all that Brenda has
if you think that all these agents are just going to commit fraud like that, they're going to show.
Fuck,
I mean, what? Hold on a second. This is a legal agreement that she is faking. And she wants to stake her reputation that she goes out and she just creates these rando legal documents with fake signatures. That's no agent wants that. No agent wants that.
Around Greg, like it's some big it's a legal document.
Well, it is a fucking legal document. It's part of the settlement.
I mean, 3-sentence showing agreement.
Yeah, well, we don't know what it looks like right now.
No, that's what the fake thing's going to be, so that Brent doesn't get fined, right? Again, you're making it seem like nobody ever showed a fake ID at a bar.
This is not the same thing.
It's exactly the same thing.
No, it is not, because this
is utterly senseless. Nobody agrees with this. No buyer agents out there like, I can't wait to get a showing agreement. I can't wait to get. Nobody's doing this.
I can't wait the fucking comments for this. I think you're 1,000% wrong.
I'm shocked that we actually managed to get something interesting out of this boring ass topic, because here's the thing, man. You're literally telling me that the million agents out there cannot wait to sit with a buyer and go, hey, before I show you this house, you got to sign this form. That's utter horseshit. Nobody wants to do it.
Nobody wants to do it. I agree with you there. Right. I don't know what that means.
So if there's a way around it, they're going to do the way around it.
Okay, but the way around it, Rob, is I don't believe that there's going to be
way around this fake IDs.
Can I fucking finish? I don't think that there's going to be thousands of agents out there who are going to solve this problem by forgery. Okay, I do not think that's going to happen. I think agents, that's above the pale there, bro. Okay, and agents are not going to want to commit fucking forgery to get around this. It's not going to happen.
They're absolutely going to do it. And here's why.
I can't wait to the comments. I can't wait till people tell you that the people that are following the goddamn the preamble. This goes beyond fiduciary.
Here's why. Okay.
No. I will not ever believe agents are wantonly going to go and just commit forgery everywhere.
Absolutely they will, because this is an illegitimate rule that they disagree with. But here's why it's going to happen, right? I show 100 buyers a home. Okay? I don't have something signed before I show them the home. Right? Out of the 100, 90 are going to just hire me and sign a buyer agents agreement. Or whatever the conversion rate is, okay? Out of the 10 that did not sign a buyer's agreement, 9 of them will be like, okay, yeah, you show me that here, sign this. Three things just so you don't get signed. Like, what asshole buyer's gonna be not signing that?
Asshole buyers? I think there's a lot of asshole buyers out there. Okay, buyers are liars.
But like, you haven't done it. Like, all I did was I showed you this house, I told you, and then you're like, yeah, you know what, I'm not going to. Hey, listen, do me a favor. Can you just sign this? This is a completely other argument you're making over here. No, it's not. Because what I'm saying, so the time that you would have to do the forgery shit is going to be the 1 out of 100, 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of fucking 10,000, where Janet just so happens that asshole client went to Janet and said, well, Brenda didn't make me sign this. And then Janet goes, hey, MLS, guess what? Brenda, fuck that bitch. Brenda, at that point, man, it's like, listen, I signed it.
It's just like
it's a fake ID at the bar. I'm telling you, this will happen.
Not.
I would justify. I would defend them. I would justify them doing that. In fact, I think you should do that, because this rule makes no sense. We just agreed
what that MLS the timing is going to say.
We just agreed the timing of getting an agreement signed is before the offer.
Well, put your efforts toward getting that away, right? But I don't see any MLS exec. I don't see any broker saying,
"Oh no, they're not going to say
Dominus Ominous, you are now ready to commit forgery." Of course,
no, this is all bad.
I'm sprinkling the holy water on you.
This is all bad. It's exactly the same as having a fake ID to get into a bar.
It's not. It's
exactly the fucking same.
Oh no,
you're breaking the law.
It's illegal. A financial. The biggest purchase of somebody's house. Right, you are trying to earn people's trust.
Who's been harmed, Greg? Who has been harmed?
And you're saying
who has been harmed? The buyer just showed a buyer a house.
Jane, because Jane is trying to do the fucking right thing, and you think, and that should be rewarded. Yeah, because the right thing is getting the buyer to sign that agreement. Right, that's the right thing.
She doesn't agree with this fucking rule.
There's a lot of things that I don't agree with. I don't go wantonly fucking breaking the law because I don't agree with it. I mean, it's just.
Do you drive the speed limit at all times?
Not at all times. Okay, but this is not that. Yeah, listen, I'm not cruel. I'm not.
Why aren't you turning yourself in to the police so you could pay the fucking speeding fines?
This is not the same thing. A realtor,
if somebody
realtors commit forgery is not the solution.
Get you on radar and report to the cops. You're ready, like,
realtors that commit forgery.
The right thing. Get the fuck out of here, man.
Letting realtors commit forgery is not the right thing to do here.
Nobody's letting.
Well, no. If you're saying the broker,
nobody's letting. Nobody's letting people do fake IDs to get into bars.
If you want to erode even more trust in this industry. Right.
No, this will actually
help
drive more trust. Because from the buyer standpoint, I'm talking to Brenda. Brenda goes, "Hey, listen, here's the situation. Here's the thing. I want to go see the house. Cool. Would you mind signing this? Or whatever. We'll just handle it."
I'm telling you.
I show you the house. I'm honest with you at the end of it.
I can't wait for the comments.
Do you want to hire me?
I really think I'm on the right side.
I don't want to hire you, Brenda. I'm not ready yet.
I can't wait till the comments are about this. That are going to tell. They're going to say. That's the swag we should get. We should get buttons that says Greg was right and Rob was right. And we'll see how many fucking buttons we sell that say Greg is right compared to fucking Rob is right.
I love it. I'm just saying, dude, like, you're making it seem, let's put it this way. If real estate industry were such assholes to report Brenda for failing to get a thing signed when she showed somebody's home, man, I think the Janets need to get kicked out of this fucking industry. Those are some motherfucking HOA president Karen types that need to get the fuck out because nobody is harmed. We're not talking about breaching fiduciary duty. We're not talking about lying to a consumer. We're not talking about anything that is harmful. We're literally talking about Brenda showed this house without this form that this illegitimate rule that nobody likes forces on her. And you're going to tattletale on that? You're some Stasi motherfucker. Get the fuck out. I'm saying the forgery part is literally in that 1 out of 1,000 cases where this becomes an issue, fake ID at the bar, man. I'm not going to condemn that. I just can't. Because who is harmed by this? Who is harmed? Nobody's talking about she did all of this and then submitted an offer and then fucked the buyer over and then retroactively signed the buyer agent. That's not what we're talking about, dude. Like, so yeah, I think I'm gonna win that one. Those Stasi tattletale snitch motherfuckers need to get the fuck out. I would rather she snitch when there's something really at stake, where the buyer agent or the listing agent did something that actually harmed the consumer. What's the harm? Who got harmed because Brenda showed a house without getting a piece of paper signed? Come on. We'll end there.
You're wrong. I don't necessarily letting realtors commit forgery is wrong, but
you're just defending. You're defending Stasi. Cool. Like, yeah. Let's see how that goes. All right, put it in the comments, everybody. Who's right?
I'm getting the buttons made. I'm getting the buttons made, man.
All right, bro. I hope we had this energy last week's live stream. That's all I can say, because this is coming week after.
Oh my God!
Thanks everybody for listening. Let us know what you think. Are you down with freedom and the righteous way, or are you down with the Stasi?
Or are you down with forgery? Yeah.
All right, take care, everybody.